The rejection came quietly, wrapped in polite smiles and clipped professionalism, but it hit like a punch to the chest. As he stepped out of the glass building, the rain began to fall, blurring the city lights into streaks of gray. In his worn jacket, clutching a thin folder that held more hope than paper, the single father paused on the steps and wondered how many times a man could be told he wasn't enough before it finally broke him. Inside that building, they had just dismissed him as another desperate applicant. None of them knew that within seconds, he would solve the one problem their powerful CEO had been losing sleep over for months. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us not to judge people too quickly, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. His name was Daniel, and life had not been gentle with him. 3 years earlier, he had been an engineer at a mid-sized tech firm, a man with steady income, quiet confidence, and plans that stretched comfortably into the future. Then his wife fell ill, hospital bills piled up, workdays turned into sleepless nights, and when she passed away, grief hollowed him out in ways no words could explain. Shortly after, the company downsized. Daniel was let go with sympathy and a severance package that vanished faster than anyone expected. What remained was a small apartment, a 6-year-old son who depended on him for everything, and a gnawing fear that he might fail at the one job that mattered most, being a father. Every morning, Daniel woke before dawn to pack his son's lunch, braid his messy hair the best he could, and walk him to school before heading off to job interviews. He ironed the same suit again and again, careful to hide the fraying cuffs. His resume was strong, but employers saw the gaps, the strain in his eyes, the quiet urgency that clung to him. Some smiled politely and promised to call. Most never did. Each rejection chipped away at his confidence, but he swallowed the disappointment because children notice everything, and his son still believed his dad could fix anything. The interview that day was at one of the most powerful tech companies in the city, a towering symbol of innovation, led by a CEO known for her brilliance and impossible standards. The job posting had felt like a miracle, perfectly matching Daniel's skills. He prepared obsessively, studying the company's products, memorizing their recent failures, even reading obscure technical forums late at night after his son fell asleep. Walking into the building, he felt a flicker of hope he tried hard not to trust. The interview itself was cold and efficient. The panel nodded, took notes, and asked questions that seemed more interested in flaws than potential. Daniel answered honestly, admitting the break in his career, explaining his circumstances without asking for pity. When it ended, he knew before standing up that he hadn't convinced them. They thanked him for his time, and that was that. Another door closed. As he waited for the elevator, a commotion rippled through the lobby. Employees hurried past with tense expressions, phones pressed to their ears. On a large screen near the reception desk, red warning messages flashed and vanished. Daniel didn't mean to stare, but old instincts kicked in. Years of troubleshooting complex systems had trained his mind to recognize patterns, and what he saw felt familiar in a deeply unsettling way. A critical system failure. The kind that could cost millions every minute it went unresolved. No one noticed Daniel at first. He was invisible again, just another rejected applicant. But as he watched, the problem unraveled clearly in his mind. The system wasn't collapsing randomly. It was a cascading error triggered by a single misconfigured update, something subtle but catastrophic if ignored. He hesitated. He had no badge, no authority, no invitation to speak. Yet the thought of walking away gnawed at him. This was what he did. This was who he was. Before doubt could stop him, Daniel approached the nearest workstation and quietly pointed out what he saw. At first there was resistance, irritation at the interruption. Then someone followed his suggestion. Within seconds the alarm slowed. Another moment, and the system stabilized. The crisis that had paralyzed the building eased into stunned silence. Word traveled fast. The CEO herself arrived, eyes sharp, assessing the situation with controlled intensity. She learned that the solution hadn't come from her elite team or expensive consultants, but from the man in the worn suit standing awkwardly near the desk, the same man who had been rejected moments earlier. Daniel explained the fix simply, without ego. He didn't boast or dramatize. He just described the problem and how to prevent it from happening again. To him, it was straightforward. To everyone else, it was nothing short of astonishing. This issue had haunted the company for months, resisting every attempt at resolution, and this single dad, dismissed as unremarkable, had untangled it in seconds. The CEO looked at him differently then, not as an applicant, but as a human being with depth, experience, and quiet resilience. She asked about his background, his career, his break from the industry. Daniel spoke with the same honesty he had shown in the interview room. He talked about his wife, his son, the nights spent balancing grief and responsibility. He didn't frame his story as tragedy, just reality. What followed was not instant magic or exaggerated triumph. It was something better: recognition, respect. The CEO saw what others had missed: a man sharpened by hardship, not dulled by it. Someone who hadn't lost his skill, only his footing. And she understood that talent doesn't always arrive polished and confident. Sometimes it arrives tired, carrying a child's backpack and a heart full of hope. Daniel was offered a role that day, not out of pity, but because he had earned it in the most undeniable way possible. The salary meant stability. The hours meant he could still be there for his son. But more than that, the job restored something he thought he'd lost forever: dignity. In the weeks that followed, life slowly shifted. Mornings were still early, but they carried purpose instead of dread. Daniel walked his son to school with a lighter step. Bills were paid on time. The apartment felt warmer, not because anything physical had changed, but because stress no longer filled every corner. At work, Daniel thrived. His insights saved projects. His calm presence steadied teams. People listened when he spoke, not because of his title, but because he was right. The CEO watched this transformation quietly. She saw how Daniel stayed late to help colleagues, how he declined credit and shared praise. She noticed the way he left promptly each evening, never ashamed to say he had to pick up his child. It reminded her of something she had sacrificed long ago in her climb to the top. Through Daniel, she saw a version of success that wasn't hollow. One evening, Daniel brought his son to the office for a company event. The boy stood wide-eyed, holding his father's hand, proud beyond words. For the first time in years, Daniel felt whole, not because life was perfect, but because it was moving forward again. If this story is already touching your heart, please pause for a moment and leave a comment below sharing what part resonated with you the most. Your words matter more than you know. The real miracle wasn't the job offer or the dramatic turnaround. It was the reminder that people are more than their worst days. That rejection often says more about timing and perception than true worth. Daniel had walked into that building carrying fear, exhaustion, and hope all at once. He walked out with proof that kindness, patience, and perseverance still have power in a world obsessed with instant judgments. For every parent silently worrying at night, every person told they're overqualified, underqualified, or simply not enough, Daniel's story whispers something important. You are not invisible. Your value doesn't disappear because life knocked you down. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one chance to be seen for everything to change. And to those in positions of power, his story is a gentle challenge. Look closer. Listen longer. The next great solution, the next loyal employee, the next human being who could change your world might be standing right in front of you, holding a thin folder and a heavy heart. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you to believe in second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that speak to the soul. And before you go, comment "I believe in second chances" if you made it this far. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, and together, we can remind the world that hope still shows up in unexpected places.